is Josh Kohut. I'm a system engineer for Grantek. I've been helping clients integrate Ignition into their facilities for about 3 years now. When I tell clients about Ignition, there's often hesitation about adopting another SCADA software into their facility. It's not that they're particularly impressed by their current system, it's just how they've always done things in the past. Sometimes they've been burned by buying into something, and now they're forced to use specific hardware or some proprietary communication protocol, which just doesn't mesh well with the rest of the site. But that's where Ignition really shines. It's compatible with all major operating systems. It can interface with all enterprise-level databases, and it will even integrate with all your current PLCs and hardware. One thing that has really resonated with our clients is Ignition's ability to integrate with ERP systems such as SAP. For years, companies have been wanting deeper integration between their enterprise management system and the plant floor. Many have turned to custom software, which are often black boxes and can't be easily updated to meet the constantly changing needs of their business. This means that you are locked into an outdated way of doing things with no easy path to adapt to new systems. Ignition changes that with its easy integration with ERPs. Using a module such as CPasoft Business Connector will give Ignition the ability to send and retrieve real-time data to higher-level business systems. This provides a more seamless integration and more accurate data between your ERP and what's going on the plant floor. Let me show you a quick example of what this integration could look like on the plant floor. Here we have a warehouse management system. This system will automatically retrieve products that are made for shipments. And how we integrated the ERP with Ignition is that ERP has the ability to release work orders. And these work orders will automatically be picked up, analyzed by Ignition, they'll be processed, and they'll show up here right on the plant floor. Here's an example of some orders that came from the ERP. These were released, they were automatically processed, and when the system detects it, it'll automatically begin to execute and retrieve the product that they need for the shipment. But that's where Ignition is really great, is because it's not just one-way communication. The plant floor also has the ability to send information back up to the ERP about the system status. For example, if one of the systems goes down and all the product that is available in that system can't be physically accessed because it's down for maintenance, that information could be sent to the ERP, and the ERP system can analyze that and take the product that is in that down system and take it out of the available to ship product. That way there's always an up-to-date real-time status of the available product kind of going on in the system. And that's just the surface. There's so many different ways that you can integrate, so many different things that you can send between these two systems. And to be able to provide this real-time information is just such a wonderful thing. Ignition has been a great product for our customers. Everybody's been really excited and wanting to expand upon it. If you're more interested in learning more about Ignition, you can email us at info@grantek.com. We can discuss how we can help your operations with Ignition.
Hi, my name is Tony Zhang. I have been with Grantek for 6 years, and over the last couple of years, I've been working on a couple Ignition projects, and I've really enjoyed it because it is a modern and elegant solution to things that I'm traditionally used to. So anything I could make before, I can still make. But on top of that, I can also integrate it into some of the industry-leading programming languages. So speaking specifically of Java or Python, and it can also integrate in with database solutions. So MySQL, Microsoft Server, you name it, it can handle those big names out there. So what this really gives us an opportunity to do is handle all the projects we're accustomed to, but it gives us that opportunity to elevate it to the next level. So here I have an example of a project that I've done before. This is for fluid bed dryer. So it is it was just a straight upgrade, and it has all the typical objects that you would expect: dampers, flow valves, and all of these objects are just a mere copy from what they were before. So you can see, clicking on it, we can see the typical statuses mode and give options to activate or deactivate it. So all the typical solutions, but on top of that, we were able to bring this system up to the standards of their data integrity requirements defined by their quality team. So we were able to bring in new features for them, but also keep all the features that they were used to. So that was a typical upgrade. Here I have a different project where it was of a custom design. This is for an automatic storage and retrieval system for one of our clients with a pretty large bakery. They have here, we can see 9 cranes, and each of these cranes are receiving pallets throughout the day, and we wrote code to do the load balancing for it. So the cranes are all working together to put the pallets away as quickly as possible. And when the ERP system requires them to bring these pallets out and load them onto the trucks, the cranes will, again, work together to bring the product out as quickly as possible. So this has a custom solution. It has Cognex cameras in there. It has a pretty complex HMI design, and it does the things that we need to do. But one of the things I liked most about it was solving problems that in other systems I would have a challenge with. So this is a heat map, which one day I realized that looking at their database design, I could create a screen that allows them to visualize how their aisles are laid out. So you can see anything dark here, this means that there's a pallet there. All the white spaces, how free, all the empty spaces. So in this design, we were able to make a solution to quickly visualize where everything is, and giving them the option to also search as well to find if they know there's a product out there that ends in 430, they can just type it in here, hit enter, and they can find exactly where those pallets are within their system. So something like this would have been challenging for me to do in another system, but within Ignition, it gave me that option. So to sum it up, I really like Ignition because it can do what I need it to do, what I've always been able to do in other solutions. But if there's a problem that we can't solve otherwise, and we get a clever group of people together, we're able to bring things to new heights and just come up with very clever and different solutions. So that's why I like Ignition.
How we leverage our Ignition infrastructure to get more quick wins. Something I really enjoyed about this project, and Ignition in general, is once the infrastructure is in place, it is easy and flexible to add on to your system. In this particular case, because we were handling all of the work orders, which required us to automatically collect part counts and scrap information, it was very easy to add on an OEE solution. This required us to just start collecting machine downtime and reasons for each piece of equipment. For this customer, we modified PLC logic so that we could collect the downtime as well as the downtime reasons based on faults that existed in the PLC. This allows us to quickly prioritize the faults and see which ones are happening the most frequently and what faults are causing the most duration. We added on a new Sepasoft module, which was the OEE module, and it took about 1 minute to get us out of the box and installed. We then had to, map some tags on the OEE module to the new PLC logic we added, and we were able to get quick wins. So we were able to bring up approximately 40 machines with OEE because we had all of this infrastructure in place already. It took us approximately 2 hours per machine to bring them online, as well as a little bit of overhead time developing a PLC template to add on to the equipment so that we could easily map downtime reasons. If we only wanted to monitor downtime and have an operator manually enter the reasons, that would have been a much quicker turnaround. But the automatic downtime reason collection is another huge time saver. It also prevents, different operators from recording different downtime events differently. And it, again, makes a kind of, a one-click solution. Like I showed a few screens ago, you press the start button on a work order and the MES system does the rest. Similarly, with statistical process control, it was another easy add-on. There was a few new pieces of equipment that were fitted with high precision machine vision measurement information. So that we were using cameras to measure, millimeter and sub-millimeter dimensions on certain parts. We were measuring, temperatures and process flows, forces, and for each particular piece of equipment we were making, we were taking about 60 to 70 measurements. That's all great, except that, if somebody has to review 60 or 70 measurements for 10,000 parts, they're going to be sitting there forever and not know exactly what they need to do. So using the statistical process control model, we were able to set up an SPC sample for each of those 60 to 70 points, and it will tell us things like, are we going out of control? Are we deviating from the mean? Are we trending in one direction or the other? And something else that's really cool about that module is they have what they call a CPP and a CPK tool. And for those of you that are in, manufacturing with dimensional types of devices, you'll know that, oftentimes your customers are going to want that piece of information. It's a statistic that shows that you're capable of producing, what they call a 6 sigma process, so 3 defects per million. I think that's what 6 sigma is. It's been a while since I've looked at the number, but that just comes right out of the box. So one click and you can send a report off to your client. There's no reason to sit there, tabulate the information into Minitab or Excel, spit out a report and send that along to your customer. And if they were to come in to audit you, if it's a pharmaceutical customer, you're able to demonstrate that to them on the shop floor, which is a pretty powerful tool. What was cool about this was another piece of equipment was being made in Europe with similar measurement information that was being designed to produce a different part. And we were able to load up a laptop running Ignition. And thanks to Kevin and his team, we were able to get a demonstration license that let us run it for a week. However, even with no license, you are able to run for a couple of hours at a time in demonstration mode. So we sent that on a laptop to Europe, and we were able to FAT that portion of the project before it arrived on site too, which let us start up the equipment in 2 weeks instead of 4, because all of the MES, including the OEE, including the work order handling, was all able to be tested in Europe, and any interfacing between the machine was fixed in the interim. Software was re-downloaded when it got to site, and everything was pretty seamless. So what I'm also excited about with this particular project is what is next. We are currently evaluating machine learning and artificial intelligence to see how we can get more value out of all of the data we are collecting. We talked about SPC and the data points a little bit. So this client is collecting, approximately 1 million data points a month now, and that's growing pretty fast as they're scaling up their production. So we've got a couple of open-ended questions. Can we relate machine parameters to downtime? Can we predict failures? Can we look into process parameters and see how they affect scrap product? We don't have answers to these questions yet, but we have a solid infrastructure in place, and with the unlimited and open nature of the connections and Inductive Automation's Ignition platform, we're going to be finding out soon. Transferring information from their historian or to an SQL database to a cloud-based machine learning platform is seamless. We started to do it, and we're excited to see what results we're going to get.
Chaplin. I'm an employee of Grantek. I've worked with Grantek now for just a little bit over 2 years. I'm out of the Vancouver office in British Columbia, Canada. And as part of my work with Grantek, I've been fortunate enough to work with Ignition on several different projects that have covered a range of the different functionality and different aspects that Ignition can offer to clients. But one of the biggest things and one of the biggest projects that I've worked on that used Ignition, what it actually did was it added an entire intermediate layer, what we call a manufacturing excellence system, or a MES layer. And what that enabled was for everyone to communicate from process up to business and business back down to process all automatically and all using this Ignition system. So we had a client that was working with a number of different applications and a number of different types of reports that would be communicating to each other. They would be, you talking from the PLC to an HMI screen, and then someone would have to manually take what was on the HMI screen and put it into a report and then send that to someone else who would have to interpret it. And it was just a lot. It was a lot of different applications, and it was all spread out. So, it was subject to issues that could happen. So network problems or anything like that. And so what we were able to do with Ignition was bring all of those different features and different aspects and different systems and combine them all into a single gateway. And that is the power of Ignition. And so, we see here currently on the screen that we have something called an audit log. And so this can help show someone who's, for regulatory purposes or even for internal checks, any adjustments made to the system, any changes made to tag values from your PLC, anything like that. And then importantly, you can print this directly and send it to whoever needs to see it. And this can all be set up automatically and easily with a couple of clicks within Ignition. But as I mentioned, this client also had process that needed to run on this Ignition service. And so we worked on migrating their existing system over. And so now someone could quickly look at these HMI screens that they used to have, and they could see whether or not the system was running, what silo was filling, what daybin was receiving material, what material was being processed, all of that. And so now we had a system that could communicate with itself, with PLCs, with business, and it could have all of that wrapped into a single application. As well, you have the ability to intersect with external services as well. And so, here we have this truck delivery. So for external bulk delivery systems, we had systems in place that could track that material and monitor delivery amounts, delivery weights. And then importantly, all of this could be captured in reports automatically from Ignition and be sent and read by anyone within the client site who had access to this program. So now, instead of having a reporting service, a PLC, an OPC server, an application for your HMI, anything like that, you have all of this in a single one-stop shop that really enables people to easily understand, how things will talk to each other, how to configure various aspects of reports, all of that. And all of that, like I said, is in a single gateway. And I think that is really the power of Ignition, and it's what helps enable the future for data communications and enabling process control as well as business strategies to be implemented all the way from the office room down to the plant floor. And again, all of that is in a single spot, a single location, and all of these systems can now talk to each other directly without having to go through a series of translations or application configuration or anything like that. And so that's really the power of Ignition, and that's why I really like working with it.
Hello, my name is Jake Farrar, and I've been with Grantek for about 5 years now. I live in Southern California and work out of our Corona office, serving our clients on the West Coast. On the screen here is the Ignition platform, and that's what we're here to talk about today. As a systems engineer, I find myself working with a wide variety of clients and an even wider variety of equipment. I've had the pleasure to work with just about every major SCADA platform out there at this point. About 4 years ago, I found myself on a project that uses this software called Ignition. Prior to this project, I've never heard of Ignition, and after that project, it's all I really wanted to work with. It instantly became my favorite SCADA software. I enjoy how intuitive the interface was and how simple it was to go from a thought in my head to a working demo I could review with the client. One cool thing Inductive Automation does is offer Ignition for free to test out. Anyone can go to their website, download, start tinkering around right away without talking to a sales rep or entering a ton of personal information in. It is a rolling 2-hour trial period, but no software features are restricted from you. You can also download these things called modules, which basically are building blocks that seamlessly integrate into Ignition to add any feature you can think of, almost any feature. From text message alarm notifications to MQTT and MES abilities, breaking features out into modules like this allows the end user to only buy what they need, but also has the flexibility to add additional modules as their needs grow. The other thing I really enjoy about Ignition is their resources. Between their extensive user manual, knowledge base articles, and support groups, I know whenever I get stuck, I always have a place to turn to for help. I wanted to show you today a fluid bed application we migrated into Ignition. I have this partial copy built out on a demo server using that free trial software from Inductive Automation. The client's old fluid bed application was running on a legacy piece of software that could no longer be updated. In Pharma, being 21 CFR Part 11 compliant is critical these days, and this client's old fluid bed HMI did not meet those standards. We were able to migrate and improve their existing fluid bed application in order for our client to stay compliant. The big thing for them was electronic records of everything done on this machine. Ignition makes this really easy by giving you multiple tools to store information in your preferred database and then allowing the end user to quickly find and display this data. So I wanted to show you that today. I can go ahead and log into the application. If I can spell admin correctly. We'll see that it gives me a lot more navigation once I logged in on the left-hand side. I can go into logs, go into audit trail, and it gives me this cool chart that I can slide around and see what kind of happened during the different days. If QA wants to come in here and take a export of this data, they can go ahead and go into the reports, audit trail report, and they can go ahead and enter some parameters and filter down to what they're looking for. Let's say we just want to take a big report of everything that happened in March 2021. We can go ahead and select the start and end dates and go ahead and run that report. And we can see everything that happened in the month of March. You can also save that, export it to a PDF, email that off, or print it and save it away. The other cool thing we can do is they run a lot of batches. We can go ahead and see what happened during a specific batch. I can select my batch, maybe this test phases, run that report. I'm going to see all the changes that happened during that specific batch. This audit trail report is just one of many ways Ignition has been able to help bring this application into compliance for our client. This client instantly fell in love with Ignition just as I did, and we are slowly integrating all of their equipment and devices into Ignition now. My team would be happy to help with your next project. Please email info@grantek.com with any questions if you would like to discuss how Ignition can help your operations. Thank you.
The advantage of Ignition for this particular project is that it's so open and flexible, we could connect to any number of machines, including injection molding, process machines, packaging machine, and even leverage Wi-Fi infrastructure for the warehouse. Using the Business Connector module allowed us to greatly reduce the overall amount of time spent engineering connectivity to the ERP system. We were able to download schedules and materials, as well as consume materials and finished goods with very little development time. This helped us meet our 6-month timeline, as we were able to reduce engineering effort from which in a normal project without the Business Connector probably would have been on the order of 6 to 12 months down to 3 months, which allowed us to meet our overall 6-month goal. Because of this reduced time and effort, it allowed us to reduce our costs to the client and allow them to achieve a much faster return on investment. We've also built a system that's very easy to maintain. The business connector allows us to automatically verify and save MES objects directly, so we do not have to spend any time configuring them manually when we are pulling the information directly out of the ERP system. It also allows us an easy way to synchronize changes in the future, helping with the maintainability and total cost of ownership of the system. You can imagine that for a company that's growing quickly and adding assets at a fast rate, the maintainability of the system is an extremely important requirement. If it were to take 1 week of effort to add a new machine to the system's total cost of ownership would be probably too high and not worth the investment. However, using the business connector and the automatic MES object interface allows us to add a new piece of equipment in less than 2 hours.
My name is Nathan Stratch. I've been with Grantek for a little over 8 years now. My title is MES engineer, and I have a lot of background in various HMI, SCADA, and MES platforms. On the screen today, we have a system using Ignition, which is made by the company Inductive Automation. I've been using Ignition for the last about 4 to 5 years now. And what I really enjoy about it is that it's very modular and can make some very complex but also very eye-catching applications. And here on the screen, we have Grantek's own OE accelerator, which leverages Ignition and Sepasoft's OE module. And Sepasoft is a company that builds modules for Ignition. And all the modules built by Sepasoft are all focused around MES. So they have a track and trace, recipe, connecting to pull and retrieve data from SAP systems or any type of ERP system. They have an OE module, which I have up, and SPC module. And there's also many other types of modules for Ignition made by Inductive or by other companies. And the nice thing about it is that they don't have to be bought when Ignition is first installed. They can be installed at any point. Installing and updating modules are very easy as well. And they have many different types of modules, some leveraging MQTT, voice and text notifications, tag historians, and all of them can be found on the Inductive Automation website. Also, which is really nice, it's very modular, but there's no separate software packages to install to use these modules. All of them are natively configurable in the Ignition system. So no need to open up 5 different applications when building a solution for a customer. So again, we have up Grantek's OE accelerator using Sepasoft's OE module. The module provides a great framework to collect, display, and configure OE information. The accelerator is utilizing the out-of-the-box tools and visual components made available from the OE module, but Grantek has packaged it in a custom presentation layer using out-of-the-box tools from Ignition. Ignition also has a great list of tools, components to use, like dials, tables, navigation panes that can be customized. The goal of the OE accelerator, which can be used in all types of industries like food and beverage, is to deliver value from the OE module to end customers in a smaller time frame. On this accelerator, users can view OE data on aligned or equipment and start and stop production orders, which can be populated from an ERP system using another module from Sepasoft called Business Connector. All the configuring and development for this module is all done in the same application, so there's no separate IDEs for scripting and configuring any of it. So I'll spend a little bit of time on just going over the platform itself, or our OE accelerator app. Here we have a dashboard that just shows current OE information for a particular line based off of the run, the shift. It has some line and equipment statuses. There's also an alarm screen to view active alarms, through the scheduling screen to view, to drag and drop work orders. Again, that can be pulled or created manually or pulled from SAP and pulled on and scheduled on a production line. We have a separate screen to start and stop these production orders on a line. And there's also a manage run screen that you can view downtime events, which is great. There's also an analysis tab here where users can view unplanned downtime for a given line or equipment for a time frame. And which is nice about this table is that users can go in and do a drill down to see, okay, for unplanned downtime, we've had 55 minutes, and they can see per equipment, per downtime reason, maybe per work order, and just drill down even further and see the breakdown from here. And users can even, dive down even further too to see the path here from downtime reason to work order, which is awesome. And then there's also a nice looking production report just showing some high-level KPIs for the line and given time frame. And this, again, is using Ignition's reporting module. Everything that we've seen here is using Ignition's Vision module, which is Java-based. So any type of machine that can install Java can use this Vision client to view and monitor OE information or any type of app you want to build. Ignition has another module called Perspective, which is HTML5 based, which can run on any browser that can be run on a PC, tablet, or phone. And I'll show you that right now. So right here we have the Perspective app, which is running on Firefox here. For our purposes, I have this simulator running on that's feeding information to our OE system. So right now I'll just throw this knife equipment into a fault state here, and we can see that an alarm pops up on the Vision client. And if I go into manage run, we'll see that a downtime has started on that knife equipment. If I go back to that knife equipment, and if I just turn it back on, you can see that the knife has now, or the end time or the downtime for this event has stopped, and there's no more alarms. But that's all I wanted to show you guys today. And again, I really enjoy using the Ignition platform. It's very modular, but everything from configuring Vision components from this application, or even Perspective components here, to configuring the MES modules, is all done using the one Ignition system. And it's very easy to use. But that's all. So thanks for watching, and have a good day. Thanks. Bye.